Yep.
Good morning and welcome to the IAPA Show for Theatre. IAPA, for those of you who don't know, is the largest analytics association in Australia. We have been around since 2004 and we provide a community and also a credentialing body for people in analytics, BI and all the associated areas dealing with data. And today there is a whole group of wonderful analytics people and experts who are going to talk to various aspects in the analytics value chain and how that could improve business, and also if you were looking at a career in analytics, how you might then move into analytics or even improve where you are in your career via a IAPA certified credential. There's information on your chair about that. But the first speaker is someone who has a very long history with IAPA. Tony Nolan is the data scientist at the Australian Taxation Office. He was one of the founders over 13 years ago of IAPA. He has spent 14 years at the ATO in various different roles, and he will explain in further detail, in innovation, risk, intelligence, analytics, and also in the data scientist role. He's worn the many hats that makes up the analytics field, and so is very qualified to talk on the topic about, does everyone really need to be a data scientist? So, Tony.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. To start off with, I'm going to talk about data and science, and you can see that I'm somewhat handcuffed at the moment as well. So I'm just going to where there. So I'm just going to tip this water into this vase because I'm going to do magic as well to show you a little bit about what data science is like and some of the magic of it. So I'm just going to put that in there, and this is my data, and I've just put it into a data hub. And of course what happens when you put data into a data hub, sometimes it disappears. So some of it will be disappearing for a little bit. So, and of course, yes, I'm handcuffed because I'm a data scientist, and sometimes in some organisations where you work, data scientists don't always get the opportunity to play with all the data. But I happen to work for Smarter Data within the ATO as one of the areas I work in. And we actually practice innovation and disruption and diversity. So we can actually go and we can escape from the handcuffs and being able to do some of the things that we like to do. And of course, I didn't set that up right. Excuse me. Things don't always go right. But one of the other things that you'll see about data scientists is that you'll have absolutely nothing to work with, and then as a data scientist you will find hidden patterns and all the rest in the data, and then magically something will actually appear that you're able to work with. So with that, we better get on to the serious side for a little bit or I'll be kicked off stage. Okay, so who am I? My employment and voluntary positions, I'm a data scientist, intelligence analyst and innovation officer with the ATO. I also advise the New South Wales Fire and Rescue as looking at the Minder House Fire Mapping Project, and I also am a community firefighter. With the New South Wales Police, I advise them on mapping crime patterns to weather patterns for crime prediction. And I've been a volunteer in policing for 20 years. I serve on various committees with IEEE to look at computers and social impacts of technology and how data and data science also impacts on that area. And finally, I sit on some boards. I used to be, as I said, one of the founders of IAPA, and well, I suppose I still am technically, and I'm a fellow. I am the Chief Judge of GovHack for 2017, which is a whole lot of people from all different backgrounds working together to prove that you don't need to be a data scientist to practice data science, and I'm going to talk about that as well, and a few other range of things. So I'll skip on that. So my career path. just very quickly. Now I am called a data scientist. 3 years ago, I was called an information scientist. So many years before that, I was a researcher, and before that, I was a statistician, and before that, I was a librarian, a research librarian, and before that, I was a stock market analyst. And what is most interesting about all that chain is it's the same skill sets, it's the same competencies, it's just different career titles. So it's how the stream has actually evolved over time in the last 20 or 30 years, yes, I'm that old, to now where it's actually called a data scientist. So I wanted to talk about data for a moment. So what is data science? Data science is applying scientific methods to exploring and modelling data. Now, what is science? Easy enough question. There are so many definitions about what is science. Science is applying rigorous and repeatable processes to map and test data outcomes. And what is data? That is a golden question. Everybody has a view on what is data and who uses data. So I've got my little laser pointer. Yes, it is legal. And I see this data coming off that wall there, the colour, the texture, the size, the weight, the gravity. Again, with the speakers that there is there. There's where you're sitting on your seats, how you're listening to me. What you think, oh, I better continue with my data thing. So you all saw me tip a whole lot of water into there. So there it is. That's all that's left of my data at the moment. The rest has disappeared. Excuse me. Every magician has a wand, so tap, 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 please refill. And I'll just put that there. And so every single thing, you would not be alive if you were not processing data. You would not be practicing business if you were not processing data. But the other thing is, to do business, to be alive and everything else, you need to produce data also. So in effect, you're all working with data from your first living breath to your last living breath. And how do you deal with that? And a lot of people, unfortunately, don't fully understand the complexity and the range and the interaction that you have with data every day. So in effect, you all work with data. The thing is, how do you move everything that you work from data into how do you make money and a career out of data? And that's one of the things that I'm meant to be talking about today. So for some people, they believe in the data science teams. There is a team model. So you need 5 capabilities under this model to be a data scientist. So you have stats and machine learning, you have programming, you have business knowledge, you have visualization and storytelling, and you need to be able to ask the right questions. So at the ATO, we encourage people within our data science teams to be innovative, diversity, virtual teams, teamwork, shared leadership, think agile, lean thinking, be vulnerable, be in an environment where you can actually give it a go and with some forms of experimentation, communicate and share your ideas and build up on your own strengths. So we get our teams together, and of course when we go to actually reach the project, we've just had someone that's given us an idea, but we actually have nothing. So what we do then is that we get the people to actually come around and they give us a business plan and all the rest. And then what we then come up with, we then come up with a framework to be able to do it. And then we get our little colourful ideas and we colour it with our data set. And then we go and so we can actually fill it in. And when we go back to the client says, that's not exactly what we want or whether it is. So you actually get to shake it all out and you start again with the process. So that's how data science teams obviously seem to work, but I thought that it was a good way to sort of exemplify how it may work or how it may not work in different organisations. But the main thing that you can see on here, and it's a little bit small, but our project teams include at some stage a person who will actually contribute to programming, business analytics, data engineers, team leaders, managers, mentors and coaches, analytics and modelling experts, subject matter experts, visualisation experts to try and achieve the best outcomes with that. Now, just out of curiosity, maybe you could raise your hands. Does anyone think that they fit in any of those categories, that they have skills that they would be able to do? See, most of you put up your hand. So therefore you can all work within the data science. And some of the difficulties in a way is how to be recognised for those skills within the data science, and also to get people to be able to initiate the data science teams, because it's a big trendy world at the moment, but how many of industries are prepared to take the risk to move down that pathway? So within the ATO, within the analytics area, these are the things that we get to do. So we do clustering work, we work with R, we do data mining, we do text mining, network analysis, sampling, fuzzy logic, statistics, strategy. We use Python, we look at boosting, we map cognitive behaviour, research, we do wiki analysis, we do web scraping, Rattle. We use a whole range of different detections as much as we can. Some of it is closed source, some of it is open source software that we use. So, GovHack. Does anyone know about GovHack? Good, a few people. GovHack has been an initiative that has gone on for the last 7-8 years. I am now the Chief Judge of GovHack for 2017. And basically what we're doing within GovHack is that we get people from all different age ranges. My son, who was a 6-year-old, was the youngest contestant in one of the teams, and the oldest person I think was about 85. We have university students, we have lecturers, we have graduates, we have people in the field, we have IT people, we have marketing people, we have comms people, everyone that wants to have a go in GovHack. Now what GovHack is, it's supported by Prime Minister and Cabinet and ABS and ATO and state governments and Commonwealth government departments. And we get people from all different areas to look at open source data that is provided on data.gov.au or data.newsouthwales.gov.au and the official data sets. And we get them to look at social capital or economic startup type situations, and they can either go for prize money, or they can go for an education, or they can go for a course, or they can go for a award, or in some cases they can get a placement in a company or a startup or some rather for so many weeks as well. And they come through with, we had 450 different projects. It's actually the biggest hackathon in the world at the moment, is run by GovHack. And some of them were safety aspects about driving home and what pathways, the optimum pathways to drive home or to walk home late at night at a party. We had people looking at autism and the best way for autism detection and information services. We had one of the winning teams, which I mentored, last year, produced an app to actually advise people whether they were getting the best from their tax return or not. There are others to do with startup with network security parts that actually linked in together. So there were all these different ranges. So for 48 or 50 hours, people come for free, although we provide them pizza and some food, and they work in that intensive mode, and they come up with Australia-wide 450 different projects. And then there's a knockout, and then there's a knockout tour again in October. There's a red carpet winner, which they have. But one of the brilliant things about GovHack is it shows, as far as data science in a non-employment environment, you have anybody and everybody who wants to give it a go, who has an interest in data, or has an interest in making money, or has an interest in some type of knowledge philanthropy or capital philanthropy, all gets in together to try and do it. So I guess to answer the original title, do I believe you need to be a data scientist to do data science? No. And I'm living proof that you don't need to be that to, in the end, to actually practice that. So, GovHack, the ATO and what happened with GovHack last year. And this sort of shows you how innovations and how things work. Due to other obligations, we had to play catch up. we didn't quite realise, and we lost some staff members, that we only had 3 weeks to get ready for GovHack to have the data sets and all the rest of the stuff, where everyone else had 5 or 6 months because we had all other obligations and stuff. So what did we do? We built agile teams in different locations across Australia. So we got all the data scientists who were technically black sheep, who didn't quite fit into the normal corporate mould, to be able to get in there, to innovate, to be able to do things. We built specific data sets. You'll see a lot of people will tell you about having an exclusive data set where you make it as thin as possible. I preach inclusive data sets. I want to have as much data as possible. I represent days of the week and dates and hours and stuff in letters, in numbers, and in words, because I can concatenate those words together and I can text mine a data set. And that's one of the things that we do with the weather patterns and crime and emergency events and stuff. So we try and make them as flexible as possible. We supplied mentors to every site, and there were over 30 of them. And we had people who knew nothing about data, but they knew about policy. And then we had other people who were just grads that had just came in. And then we even shipped out some of the accountants and lawyers who don't often know what to do much with data, except how to either prosecute it or manipulate it in a very boring way. Then we had other people that were around as well that only did visualizations or only did IT or only write comms journalists. So we had everyone together doing the data science or supporting them in the data science. We used gamification. I don't know how many of you are practicing gamification in your businesses or life at the moment. Some of the biggest industries are moving into open source and into gamification, including Microsoft, Apple, IBM, Deep Blue. There's a whole range that are actually moving into that, as well as the defence forces. Specifically the US Defence Force actually uses gamification as their main recruiting idea at the moment in online playing games and stuff, and also a lot to do with advanced robotics and engineering and that area. We built a grassroots video which basically challenged everyone to come in and to play with our data. Now, of course, the ATO, we're known as not necessarily the most evilest government body, but we take your money and sometimes we give it back to you when you do claims and all the rest of the stuff. But our data is considered to be very boring out there. What we do is we have an anomalised data set of 2% of individual tax returns for the last 8 years, and every year is a different 2%, so no one's repeated in twice. And it's just basically data that you fill out in your tax return. And it is extremely boring for the data scientists to be able to get in and trying to do anything with. So we enhanced it. We added in with ABS, and we needed to build in a challenge. And we needed to make our data fun and sexy, and people wanted to get in and try and use our data. And that was the job. But we actually did in the end. We got about 10% of the market of those 453 who actually used our data sets in some way to be able to do it. But we had to work out there, we had to sell our data. We had to sort of romance it and matchmake it with teams and a range of things. We couldn't just leave it sit there. And data should never really just be left to sit there, and all the people who play with it. But what did we learn? When we had a go at this, and I'd suggest everyone should have a go at GovHack if they can, or at least some of the hackathons, we learned a better understanding of how the industry and how different people from different backgrounds and different career paths work with data science and how they work with the data. And that was a golden research opportunity of being able to network and find all the different ones that we were there. Also, what else did we do? We found better ways to see how our data could be used for our purposes, but also for other people's purposes as well. So that was another research opportunity that we had. But the other thing was we found better ways to coordinate with our team members to work better and faster, because we had such a narrow time frame to get ready. All the silos that exist in any organisation, and including every government department, disappeared, and we were all able to share and exchange and work together. And the good thing was, because so many people work together in the different teams, especially if your teams are all over Australia, it's how do you get to know the people personally to be able to work to practice the data science. So this is one of the other difficulties, and the networking and the capability was what we did there. And then better ways to mentor our staff by cross-skilling and recognising that we had our own in-house experts, and who could we actually go to for gurus and mentors and things like that. And that was one of the advantages as well. So I better see now. Some more of my data has disappeared, or I should say has reappeared. So I'll do that, and I'll ask more data to come back. Isn't this just the best excuse to be able to bring something when you're talking on stage, to get into there? And the other thing, because here's one of our future speakers, can I borrow you for a second? I'm going to give you those. So would you like to put them in there? So they actually represent different data before we've actually had an opportunity to put innovation with it. So now I'm going to give you the magic wand, and if you could stir it in there, please. Thank you. And then, can you see anything in there? No? So we can even do that. And I actually wore this so you could see that there was nothing up my sleeves, that magicians always say. And would you like to put your arm all the way through? And absolutely nothing there. So it's gone. So now what we need to do is, there you go. Okay, now, could you put your hand in and see if there's anything in there? And they are bigger than what they were before. So that just goes to show you, with a little bit of data science and a little bit of data and a little bit of magic, that you can actually make what you put into the magic bag actually grow to get something bigger when it comes out. And the other thing to show with magic that transforms, the other thing that I wanted to show that sort of represents data and data science is the different people that have actually worked with data throughout time. So you can see here it's just a normal person working in the field in the agricultural industry, and they used to work with weather data and crop data and that. But then you would have your sort of Captain Cook, if you like, that would actually go and they would use it and look at the data for navigation and stuff. And then you had the old grandmothers who used to sit and they used to knit and create stuff in the agriculture area again, and the Midwest of America, and they would be able to produce it. And then you would have sea captains again, who would be able to do it. And if you turned it this way, you would actually have the people who went to war, that actually, Napoleon like that anyway, who used to actually be able to use the data and all the rest. So we have a whole history of going through, and I'll bore you if I go through all of these, but for anyone that was interested in the old TV shows, you've got the Flying Nun, and for anyone who is a Doctor Who fan, you have a Gallifreyan High Priest or something else like that. Anyway, and I'm now coming to an end, and I bet you're all happy, and you'll get on to the normals, the next speaker, who will be a whole lot more normal than me. But I wanted to say thank you to IAPA, and yes, I am a founder, so I just wanted to and a fellow, and I just wanted to give them a little plug, which Annette doesn't sort of really know that I was going to do. So how has IAPA helped me over the last 12, 13 years? It helped me when I was emerging as a data scientist to actually become part of an emerging community in a way. because when you're often in the front working in some of these fields, it's a little bit difficult when you're transitioning across to find like people to be able to talk together and like stuff to be able to together. They help me by undertaking professional development and to find like-minded people. They also provided a reference point for new ways to be able to do things, and I was able to also showcase some of the developments of the DNA profiling and other type stuff that I have invented over the time in digital hashes and stuff to be able to show to the rest of the community. And also they helped me originally in the recognising and competencies of my skills, and I'm going to give a shameless plug. You will see on the seats now that they're also, if you like, developed a new system. This is fairly new. I haven't even had a chance to read this yet. I'm still in this one to take back for me. But with that, I'd like to thank you very much for listening to my presentation and seeing the magic and all the rest of the stuff. In closing, I definitely do not think that you have to be a data scientist to practice data science, but I see the whole world, if you like, is racing towards data science, either through the internet, Web 2, Web 3 that's coming in, all the different analytics that's happening at the moment. And really to stay current within there, you need a way to sort of understand it, a way to learn it, a way to be qualified, and a way to practice it, because I don't believe there's any way that you're going to be able to escape it. Thank you.